So another critical element of my story is that I was incredibly shy. Like, right, I was the kind of chubby little redheaded kid, freckles and like big old gnarly hobbit feet and big toes, and really timid and shy and reclusive. I was terrified to talk to people. And I know you're watching this going, no way, really? And I was. If you could see me then and see me now, just total transformation. But I was horrified. I couldn't look people in the eye, and they would tell me that. I'd say, hey, Greg, look at me in the eye, and I'd, look up, and then look away, can't hold eye contact. Talking to girls was terrifying. I see a girl and just kind of drop my head and like, please don't say hi, please don't acknowledge, just walking down the hallways of school or anything, just to have to talk to somebody, to make a phone call, right? I remember just being terrified, sick to make a phone call and call somebody and talk to them. And so this was the world I'm in, right? So I'm on my own, like I told you. I have to figure out life for myself, and yet I'm terrified. I'm shy, I'm timid, afraid to have interactions, afraid to ask for things, afraid to approach people. To make new friends was really challenging for me. It was really fearful. And I realized in that fear and with all my insecurities, right? Just, I'm not good enough. I'm ugly. I'm, weird. I don't have a normal family situation. Now I'm on my own. Who's going to want to hang out with me? Why would people care? Nobody cares. Even to the point where I'm like, why even go on? Why try? And you get into these desperate and depressed thinking patterns. And it went on for quite a while like that, just frustrated and hurting. And I didn't want to be like that, and I didn't want to be lonely. And that story I told you about Christmas Eve was that catalyst where I knew I needed to make some changes. And one of those changes, I knew I had to overcome that timidity and that fear and that shyness. And man, I had no self-confidence. And I realized kind of along that journey, it wasn't like one moment, but along that journey, I realized I got to be more confident. I got to be able to talk to people. I got to be able to get things done. I got to be able to make friends. And eventually, way off in the future, some elusive future, I was like, someday, I'd like to date and marry a beautiful and awesome woman, which I have, and I'll tell that story later. But I had to do that, and I didn't know how. And, life just happens where you get in some uncomfortable situations. And, a teacher calls on you and you're like, you turn bright red and you're like, oh, and you have to do it. And you have other situations where you're forced to kind of get out of your shell a little bit. But I remember meeting this guy. Man, love this guy. And he had such a huge influence on me. And when I met him, he was talking to everyone. He was smiling, friendly. I mean, he was greeting everybody, talking to everyone. Everyone seemed to like him. And I liked him, and I was drawn towards him. I'm like, I want to be like that. And so I asked him, I said, man, I'm like, you know everybody, man. How do you know everybody? How do you live like this? And he was in his 20s. And he says to me, he ended up being kind of a mentor in multiple occasions. But he said to me, he said, I just decided years ago that I would smile and greet every person that I made eye contact with. And he says, I just do it. If I'm looking up, I'm paying attention. If I see someone, I look at them, I smile and I greet them. And the thought both excited me and terrified me at the same time. And so I wanted to try it, and it took a lot of internal courage, right? I'm like, no, I got to work myself up to do this. And so, I tried it. I'd look at someone and I'd be like, hey, what's up? And sometimes they'd be like, okay, give me the look and walk off, or like, I don't know you, or they'd be like, do I know you? I get this weird response, and it was these little failures, like, oh no, I blew it, what am I doing, this idiot? But then other times people would smile back and be like, hey, how's it going? And I was like, oh, that felt good. And so I want to try it with like the cashier at the grocery store, the bank teller, and just be like, hey, how you doing? Hi. And eventually it became easier and easier for me. It's like Emerson said, right? He said, the more we persist in doing something, the easier it becomes. Not that the nature of the thing changes, but that our ability to do is increased. And so I started working on that more and more. And eventually I got to the point where I was purposely putting myself into uncomfortable situations. I had to get out of my comfort zone, right? Because you guys, life really begins at the edge of your comfort zone because it forces you to grow. And so I got to the place where I'm like, okay, I'm going to greet people. I'm going to talk to people. And then I'd go up and just talk to someone. I'd sit down on a bench or strike up a conversation, ask someone how they're doing. And I fumbled at it. I wasn't good at it. You know, I'd start a conversation, then have no idea what to say, right? Hey, how's it going? Good. Shoot, now what do I say? You know, I remember being specifically terrified of like taking a car ride with somebody for, you know, half hour, an hour, a couple hours, and being terrified, like, what will we talk about? What in the world would I say for all that time, you know, fill that void of silence? But I got to the point now where I greet anyone, anywhere, all the time. In fact, and we'll get into this later, and I have a full course on social, you know, social leadership and social interaction, being a leader socially. And my definition of a social leader is to have a meaningful conversation with anyone, anywhere, at almost any time. And I can do that, and I do it often. I was in Morocco 2 weeks ago, had some incredible connections with some wonderful people from a totally different culture and background. I was in Paris last week, over here in England. Same thing, wherever I go, meeting people from all around the world in different cultures and backgrounds and ages, old and young and male and female and poor and rich and, you know, whatever, have total differences of opinions, but still having a meaningful conversation. That's a part of my life now. I love to go to the grocery store and go and people, you know, checking you out and they're just having a rough day, they're tired, they're exhausted, and say, hey, how's it going? And use their name and talk to them. You know, hi, how are you doing? I'll just turn around to people in line, standing in line somewhere, some store, and turn around, hey, how's it going? You know, what's your life purpose and dream, right? And people are like, wow! It catches them off guard, but I love it. I love connecting with other people. I love having those meaningful conversations with friends, with family, with strangers, to connect in a special way. And I made that transformation. It took a while. I had to work on it for a couple of years, and I had to get in some really uncomfortable situations, and I had to practice it. I even had to, I would write down questions that I might ask or things I might say, because you get into a conversation, and I was so nervous and shy, my mind would just go blank. The thought of speaking or raising my hand and making a comment or being on a video, horrifying, right? But I changed, I transformed. And if I can go from where I was to where I am now, so can you. So can you. And you can make those transformations in your personality and being really timid and shy and even insecure. And I'll share some ideas later on about building that confidence and overcoming our insecurities and our fears. But I did it. And it was step by step. I'd overcome a fear and there'd be another one. I'd go overcome that one and face the insecurities and the doubts. And just this journey, right, this search of studying the lives of great people who overcame obstacles. How did they do it? How can I do it? What are those secrets? And I'm going to share those in my courses. How do we get there? And I figured it out, and I did it, and I've done it. And what you see here is me. It's not a show for the camera. This is who I am. This is how I live. I'm optimistic. I'm energetic, and I love connecting with people. And that's how I live. So I'll see you in the next video. I show you other transformations, other changes that I had to make, and great successes that came because of it, and how my life now is this epic adventure.